All right, this is a video covering square roots that are positive and negative. This is a really important skill to understand. It's basic, but it's really important. It helps you understand some other concepts that we're going to learn this year. And this one is called an essential learning. We're going to call it a power standard. Power standard! I don't know what that was, but we'll just keep on teaching here. Okay, so what you should already know. Hopefully you understand what this math symbol means. This means the square root of 25. A lot of you might already know what the answer is, what this works out to, but we're going to just take a few things step by step here. Next thing we're going to have here is square root of 25 with an equal sign after it. Well, you'd read that as the square root of 25 is equal to, and then it's kind of an incomplete sentence here. Now we have this. We have that symbol, the square root of 25, we have the equal sign, and then we have what it works out to, and that would be read as the square root of 25 is equal to 5. All right, so that's a basic review of what you hopefully already know. If not, go find some of my videos on square roots elsewhere on YouTube. All right, so this is known as an expression. That's just a number, an operation with no equal sign, no inequality sign. Down here, this is a complete equation. The one in the middle is an equation, but it's not a complete equation. It doesn't have something on either side of the equal sign. Just a little review there. All right, moving on. So most of you understand that square root of 16 will equal 4. I'm going to take you through a little process on why it works out to that. Are we okay that 16 is the same thing as 4 times 4? So square root of 16 is the same thing as square root of 4 times 4. And then if you understand exponents, you can understand that 4 times 4 is the same thing as 4 to the second power. Now, square root of 4 to the second power is going to be 4. Now, visually, that might get a little bit confusing. Just understand that square root of 16 works out to 4, and that answer is a natural number. All this stuff in between is going to come in handy as we keep moving forward in the school year. Let's just do another one of these. Square root of 9. Most of you know that it's going to be 3. I'm going to take you through this process, though. Square root of 9 is going to be the same thing as square root of 3 times 3. I'm going to think of 3 times 3 as 3 to the second power. So as soon as you have something under a radical sign that's to the second power, basically the radical sign and the square cancel each other out. The square root of a square is going to be that number. We can go deeper into that down the road, but that's the gist of it for now. Mainly just understand square root of 9 is equal to 3. Once again, it works out to a natural number. Now, if you type these into Desmos calculator, you're going to get this exact same number, and it is correct, but there are some other answers that could be possible, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to talk about irrational square roots now. So far, when we've had a square root of a number, it worked out to a nice natural number. Sometimes you get something like this, square root of 10. Now, a lot of people might think that it's going to work out to 5, but is 5 times 5 10? It's not. Something times something. What times what is 10? We don't know. Whatever that thing is squared is 10, we don't know. This is one where you'd want to get your calculator and type in square root of 10, and you end up getting this. Goes on and on forever. This is known as an irrational number. So when the number inside the radical sign is not a perfect square, it's going to be an irrational number. So now let's look at a square root of 50. Now a lot of kids are going to think that, oh, the square root of 50 is 25, but is 25 times 25 50? No. So we'll just say something times something, and something squared is 50. What is that number? It's not one we know off the top of our head. You can use your calculator and type it in, and you'll get this. Once again, it goes on forever. There's no pattern. I can't put a bar over it. This is going to be an irrational number. There is another way you can break this down. It's called simplifying radicals. We'll talk about that in another video. More than one square root. So we're looking at a problem like this, the square root of 64. Now, a lot of kids are going to know right off the top of their head, oh, that's 8. And that is true. I'm going to show you two ways to think about this, though. Square root of 8 times 8. Square root of 8 to the second power. Square root of a square cancels out and gives you 8. Most of you probably realize, oh, boom, square root of 64 gives you 8. Now, that's another natural number. That's another natural number, just like what we were talking about before. Square root of 64 works out nicely to 8. That's a natural number answer. Okay, now let's look at something else here. Hopefully, if you remember your multiplication rules, you could think of this as negative 8 times negative 8 as well. Because isn't negative times negative going to be positive? So you could say, hey, square root of negative 8 to the second power gives me negative 8. Now, when you type this square root of 64 into a calculator, you're only going to see the positive answer. But be aware that square root of 64 could also be negative 8. It's a really important concept to understand. We're going to look at another one. So now you could see it written as this. Square root of 64 is equal to positive or negative 8. Before, that 8 was just a natural number answer. Now what we've got is an integer answer, because positives and negatives that don't have any decimals are known as integers. We're going to move on. Let's do another one of those. Let's do square root of 81. Now, most of you know, oh, that answer is going to be 9. But if off the top of your head, what is the other answer it could be? Square root of 81 can be 9, but it can be something else. Let's do the order here a little differently. We could think of it as square root of 9 times 9. We could think of it as square root of negative 9 times negative 9. Both of those break out to 9 squared or negative 9 squared. So the square root of a square cancels them out. You get that. Top answer is natural, bottom answer is integer. Both of them can be considered integer answers. All right, the main thing you need to know. Square root of 121 could be considered as positive negative 11. You could consider it as positive 11. But if they have a negative sign in front of it, it's definitely going to be negative 11. They're saying, oh, what's the negative of this square root? So just be aware of that. Square root of 289. What times itself is 289? This is something you could type in your calculator. It's going to be 17. You need to start getting in the frame of mind, though, saying, oh, it could be positive or negative 17. Most of the time, if they give you a positive square root, positive radical, they're asking for the positive answer. But be aware it could be both. If they ask for a negative radical, you need to make sure that your answer is negative. Almost done! Whoa. All right. Which choices are equal? Okay, so we have square root of 100 is equal to something. Could it be equal to 50? No. 50 times 50 is not 100. Could it be negative 50? No. Could it be 10? Well, 10 times 10 is 100. That would work. Could it be negative 10? Negative 10 times negative 10? It sure could. As soon as you see that negative sign, you know it's not going to be a positive answer. And 12 times 12 is 144, so negative 12. That's about it. I hope this helps. Best of luck to you.